I'll call the order of this Port Orchard City Council work study session for April 21st. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we've got four items tonight. The first two are Noah and the second two are Nick. So Dennis is just here for his notes. So, all right, Noah.
He just gave it, Nick's on the wrong side of the table apparently. We need Scott to join.
Okay, you balance things out. All right. So Noah, our first item here is the low income and edit for the water utility. And I know you guys talked about this at the finance committee earlier today.
Yeah, so we'll go through a presentation and then talk about what the council would like to do. So we have a low income discount program for our utility ratepayers. The low income is for those whose household income does not exceed 125% of the U.S. Census Department's poverty threshold. Income includes salary, wages, interest, dividend, and other earnings reportable on your federal tax and your federal taxes. For residential utility ratepayers, this is a table of the current 2026 U.S. Census Bureau. So what you can see here is if you're a single person under the age of 25, your poverty threshold is $20,136,000. So this table just sort of represents and tells us what the income threshold is according to the U.S. Census Bureau. So residential customers in Port Orchard, they receive a discount of 25% if they are 125% of the U.S. Census Bureau and have qualified for the program. What that means is roughly for their base rate of $65.50, they would see a reduction of $16.38. So they pay a total of $49.13. And their total bill would be adjusted based on sewer and storm base rates also. So going from a total base rate of $2.80 all the way down to $2.10. Water consumption still applies, and this is only applied to the base rates. So we have a goal at the city to try to have at least 25 accounts enrolled and participate in the program. Again, you can see the impact to an individual is roughly $420 per year. And overall for the city, that would be roughly an annual cost of $10,500. So the program started in 2023, had 24 accounts. We're going through the process of sending out mailers to those 24, as well as taking applications for any new ones. So staff have come to me and asked to talk to council about increasing or any possible changes to the program that they might desire. So we've talked about this with the finance committee, and there's really two levers or two tools for the program. There's the poverty income threshold factor, and then there's the discount rate. So the poverty threshold income factor determines the number of participants that are in the pool based on their income. So if you broaden that, you are potentially adding eligible participants to the pool based on their income. And then if you change the discount rate, that just gives them a savings about their bills. So those are the two levers, the two tools of the program to encourage participation.
Is it for the same household to get those two things, or for two different families get the part of poverty income and then the other one gets a discount?
Correct. So when you apply, so it's a good question. So if you look at the table here, this might help to answer. So a 3-person household has a higher income threshold than a 1-person household. So it would apply to the household, to the utility account for the household. It's not per person in the household. It's just the account.
Exactly.
Okay. So currently this is what we're currently at, 125%. You can see that for a 3-person household in this example, if you make $31,479, you are eligible for the program. If you make more than that, you are not eligible for the program. Just want to pause, make sure that you kind of follow that part of it. Because that was an important discussion that we had.
Say that one more time. I apologize.
Yeah. No, so the threshold is that you have to make 125% of the poverty threshold or less to be eligible for the program. So when we look at the table here, a 3-person household makes less than 31,479 would be eligible for the program. Anyone who makes more than that is not eligible for the program. So if they made,
That's annually.
yeah, so if they made 32,000, they would not be eligible for the program. Our current threshold.
Yeah. Let's see.
So what we've been discussing with the finance committee is the two tools, changing the threshold, increasing the threshold, and or doing adjusting the discount, or both, the combination of. So I'm just gonna point this out right here. You can see here, we had some examples of different levers that the finance committee could recommend. 150% would raise this 3-person household income from 31,479 to roughly $37,700.
Noah, since you've got that graph up in those percentages, you want to talk about the finance committee's recommendation, or do you have that graph later?
I think I have a graph later.
Okay.
So I was trying to. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Just keep the threshold in mind. Again, the other is the discount. Raise the discount. The account gets just a greater benefit. So currently 25%, or roughly $70 off their monthly bill. We gave some examples of increasing the range from 30 to 45%, what that would look like. And it changed the bill from roughly a savings to bill 70 to 126, depending on where you fall within this range. Again, the total impact to the city, if, for example, you went to a 45% discount, it would be total $19,000 per year based on 25 accounts being approved.
And how many accounts do we have today? You said 24.
Yeah, so roughly 24 accounts is what we have.
Jay's got a question.
No, I'm sorry. I know I missed this, but I heard 25 households. Was that the cutoff?
No.
Or is that what we were shooting for?
Yeah, essentially we did it in 23. We surveyed our
Right.
jurisdictions
Yeah.
and just said, hey, how many participants are in your program? What should be a program goal? And it's in the 20s. We said, okay, let's start there.
And the second thing is, if we increase the amount that we're giving back to a low income, or not collecting, is that of the sewer fund or is that general fund?
It would be all 3 funds.
Okay, it does touch all three. That's what I was
Water
wondering.
base, the sewer base, and storm base. So,
Okay.
so the impact is actually spread amongst the 3 utility versus 1 utility.
Scott.
So, when this was rolled out, talk to me about that. Did we target people? Did they come to us? And if we had more than, what did you say, 25 people, 20?
Yeah, we didn't turn anybody away. There was no cap.
There was no, okay,
there
that's
was
what I
no
was
cap
curious.
effort.
Okay.
We advertise,
That's what I was getting at.
what we do in our customer, our utility billing clerks, when a customer comes in and says, hey, I need help, I need assistance, we offer them the programs that we can.
Okay.
And so this is one that we have offered.
Yeah, Eric's got a question.
Yeah, and this is verifiable income, so they have to come forward to the city when they apply. And they have to bring their W-2,
Next return, I think.
whatever.
We verify their income.
Yeah, it's verify their income, and the target is as many as possible. And that's why we're moving the needle right now, is to try to draw more, not just draw one more, right, to hit 25. It's to draw more, and then to market it out there a little bit better as well, so.
And I think really it's not meaningful enough, but I don't think we're helping enough. And so we're trying to help a few more people and have it be a little more meaningful. Scott.
I'm just curious on how we would do our outreach on this. Try and get as many people that are eligible as possible.
They really self-select. They come in and talk to us. I mean, we'll put it in the utility billing. But they come into the front counter, hey, and
Basically say,
yeah, I need help. We do payment plans. We've got a few different tools and this is one of the tools in our toolbox to reduce the amount we pay.
And you'll think utility bill, you almost throw up. You have to be pretty. That's it.
So the finance committee have been meeting on this, and they've come forward with a recommendation to increase the threshold from 125 to 150 and increase the discount from 25% to 35%. So they suggested we do both to try to expand the program, offer a little more assistance to our low income citizens.
So what's the anticipated increase? And I got one other question after that.
That's really tough because again, on one of the tools, we're trying to capture some more eligibility.
Okay,
And we don't have a good handle on that. We didn't I think we turned away maybe one person last year.
No, I mean, we don't know whether it would double or, you know, we just don't have any anticipated. I mean, I know it's not a large amount. And
And I mean, it's 18 now.
No, no.
If we doubled it, maybe we get to 40.
I know, I was just asking if we had any idea. The second question is, as opposed to where we do a tax, you know, like we were doing a possible tax abatement, you know, and it shifted the tax burden over to the rest of it. Is this one where there's an increase to the rest of it, or no, we're just taking out of the existing funds that we have?
Yeah, I mean, this would be a reduction to the existing fund that we have. And we're saying 10,000 is our total cost amongst the three utilities. That's $3,000 per utility. I think this council could absorb that into their operational costs.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Come on. All right, John.
Yeah, so Finance Committee's done a lot of work here, really trying to, and I've come a long way, full circle on this as well. Just to say.
Oh,
That was at first, and then I didn't realize, I had to take a step back and just realize, hey, we're trying to help people, right, make this work. And I don't know why I had my head wrapped the wrong way. What I'm gonna say is, I think, I would like to encourage this move to say, but I would like to ask, I thought about this after Finance Committee meeting, Director. I'd like as soon as we enact this, a 6-month check-in regularly. I'd like to get us, I think our utility revenues in the upper 20 million a year, total revenues. So to hear, was it $8,000 was the total fiscal impact here or something like that? Like, I like to see that be closer to 200,000. If I'm looking at creating a program for us to continue moving these numbers some way, I don't know if 150, what I'm trying to say, team, is I don't know that if 150% of this income is the right way to go. So, but I'd like to encourage this change because I think we're making a move in the right direction. And if it's not enough, I'd like to revisit it. That's my 2 cents.
Sure.
Just like to suggest, if it's not already being done, create I guess I would say partnership instead of just letting them advertising, letting them know about it, having maybe some literature at Lake KCR with South Kitsap and other shelters, well, not shelters, clothing places. So for instance, the Adventist Church has one, like I said, South Kitsap has one, I know they have one back here at the Methodist Church. And then I would definitely Helpline, if you had some kind of literature at Helpline, would be ideal. Good idea.
Yeah, and we can work with Megan, our new communications person, on the market. Try to get.
Yeah, I just wanna say, if it's in your water bill, you're gonna see it. If you receive a water bill, you see a utility bill. There's no better way to. No, online, they can add it to your online bill.
I'm telling you, I would not see it.
How do you know how much you pay for your bill?
They show me, but there's nothing written, so they would have to tell them to, because it's literally just you pay this, it's all. It's you get this, and I've talked to people, Wink, all this stuff. You have to be very like, when you're in there and they're getting sources and say, hey, did you know that you have this available to you? I know it sounds like a given, it's not necessarily a given.
I'll end if I still know how it's avoidable. You know what I'm saying, when it's like right there. So-
Well, no, I think we should definitely have it there in addition to having.
We'll find ways to market. I mean, that's why part of why we're blaming Megan.
Should be that.
Yeah, we'll market it.
Yeah, so with the finance committee, want to bring this back to the full council, see how you guys felt about changing these 2 levers, increasing the threshold and increasing the discount. Yeah, you guys are supportive, I'll bring back a resolution next week and we'll take those steps.
So this was the finances recommendation on the screen here.
Yeah.
Like 50 and 35%.
I like the 6-month check-in.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that we're not increasing other rates to cover this.
Oh, for sure.
It is, just to be transparent, it is spreading $99,000 amongst everybody in the city.
But
Yeah, because it is an enterprise fund, but we're not you know, we're not sending you a bill for some pennies and Scott a bill for some pennies, but it is being covered by that enterprise fund.
But
I just want to be transparent.
tax abate.
It's not a tax basis.
They're like 32,000.
They basically weren't.
I'm not opening it.
We're just spreading it.
Okay, I'll move on then to the next,
Next topic.
is, water.
Can we be better, friends? I'm just calling us out. I'm gonna try and be better.
Keep rolling.
So the city has a water leak policy, which was established in 1987. Has not been updated since. The policy establishes that customer discovers a leak and fixes it. The city engineer may recommend and adjust the water bill. The city treasurer may waive up to $100 of the cost of the wasted water. So we've talked about this because we've had lots of customers over the years have leaks, and the $100 in their opinion is laughable. It doesn't do enough to cover the cost of the repair, the actual leak. And so against that, coming back to council today, is there anything we can look at as far as a leak credit? So again, our current policy provides 100% credit for up to $100 maximum. And what we proposed is a 75% leak credit. So it changes the math a little bit. And so we have some kind of illustrative examples here. I just want to walk through. For example, if you had option one, a $500 leak, a 50% leak credit would provide $250 of relief, and the customer would owe the $250. Again, this is above your normal bill. This is just for the leakage amount. Option three, 75%. The credit would provide $375, and the customer would pay $125 on a $500 leak. We did note that Bremerton has a 50% policy, and Paulsville has a 0% policy. So, at different ends of the spectrum here.
Dave's got a question.
When we put in the electronic water meter readers, that is supposed to help decrease
Yes.
leaks, so.
We should be catching these things sooner.
No, that's what,
But
that's
it's
what
not
I'm saying.
Because something ruptures and a whole bunch of water goes out.
I'm fully behind it. We had this happen to my dad when he was living on his own. So fully supportive of it. I like it. I was just saying that hopefully, you know, with the leak stuff, that the water meters, electronic will help also. So between them, we should see a lot of these.
Right. And so we have a couple of.
Yeah, it could even be on a hose, a garden hose, when you don't sleep in. But what's the percentage of people that, you know, call in and say, hey, I got a leak in our city? Is it?
You know, I can try to see if we can have some numbers.
Can't be that percent.
Yeah.
It's you know, $700 to $1,000 is an uncommon. I had one $700. You know, happened, and it happened very quickly.
Well, the number of how many people use that for, you know, yeah.
Mark?
I didn't answer your question from a personal experience. Usually we as the homeowners don't know it. The city notifies us and it can be 45 days or so later. By the time they catch it, they caught it. For me, it was like an $800 bill. That's just for the water minus the repair. So with the new meters, we got much quicker.
Where was your leak at? I'm
capability.
curious.
In the line between
Yeah.
the meter.
You're in the ground between your meter and your house. That's where mine was too.
And just for clarity, the garbage company did damage that line, but that's.
Another story. Okay, thanks.
So we have some normal common situations and then we have kind of unusual ones. The unusual ones are the big ones, right? I'm more concerned about the big ones than I am the normal common ones. Especially with our investments in our technology, hopefully going to be more on top of any type of continuous water flow. We'll be able to identify it and notify the homeowner. But it's really those kind of large, uncommon situations that can really devastate a family or a business, right? $800 is a big bill, but I've seen bills as much as, you know, $10,000. So that really hits. So I do have a couple examples here. Again, just a normal bill. If they had a leak of 85,000 gallons, you know, it cost them $606 for now. We pay $100, so they have to cover $670, kind of similar to Councilmember Teneri's situation. If it was a 75% leak credit, then the credit to cover $470, and the customer would pay roughly $300, again, for the leak. Still contributing to, and the part, I should make this clear, as part of the leak credit program, you have to have the leak fixed and documented that you did fix the leak.
Okay.
Before you can be eligible for the program. So they have the upfront cost of fixing it, and then they get a little relief under the proposal. Then we will look at, again, the extraordinary or uncommon situations. These are the ones that kind of I worry about. A big bill of say 3 million gallons of water could cost anywhere up to $23,000 in just water, right? And with our $100 cash, we pay $100, and the customer will be responsible for the $23,000. And if they don't pay it, we shut off their water. Right, so those are the comfortable conversations that our utility workers have to have.
And that's real.
And these are real situations.
This is a real number to somebody in our city.
Right. So under the proposal of 75% credit, the city would give them a credit of $17,000, and they'd still owe $6,500. Still a massive bill, still a responsibility, but a lot better than $24,000. So we met and discussed, and the proposal is to go to a 75% of the leak amount. To change the policy from a flat $100 to 75% leak. So you want to look at the whole group and see how you feel about it.
With no cap.
With no cap.
No cap.
We did discuss including a cap. We discussed having a cap coming back to the council. Back administratively, that becomes a little problematic. So recommend no cap.
Councilman Morrissey.
So I'm glad, Dr. Ryan's here as well, because I think he can help answer. I thought of this after also finance committee. So like our $23,000 example, there's an actual cost to producing that water. It's probably not commensurate to the actual 23,000 that we charge for that water. But is there any type of consideration we should be taking, thinking about what it costs to bring a gallon of water to us?
You're
Are
asking
you following what I'm?
the cost of producing a gallon of water?
Well, I mean,
No,
I'm sure you guys have some kind of cost average, right? Like,
I'm gonna have to check into it because there's a methodology that we have a lot of water loss that we try to, our goal is to keep our total water loss for the city under 10%. And I mean, it's essentially a write-off, right? We know that we have a certain amount of loss producing the water. We could get like a total cost of operating.
how do we account for
I would do total cost of operating the water division.
But we didn't, it's not a normal these are abnormal.
that? I get it. I just want to make sure we're covering it. We're not.
We pumped it out of the ground and we
Okay.
sent it through the pipe.
That's essentially what it did, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's. So Jay,
No, I would, echoing what John was saying.
There's gonna be chlorine or whatever.
Well, it's not only that, but it is the cost to maintain the system.
Yeah.
It all adds up to how much does it cost for a gallon of water? My question was actually going back a little bit further to that. What has been our impact on this if we go to 75%? Be the increase that over a normal year, or what have we seen last year before of people coming in asking for relief? I think some people probably wouldn't, the garden hose split, they probably wouldn't even think about it. I mean, I'm just saying, it's.
and that doesn't qualify. That's
Yeah,
not
I
your
know, but I'm just saying I'm just curious what it is, or is this something that we got, let's visit this in 6 months again, just see where we're at, or a year from now and see where we're at. I'm not against it. It's just that when we start shifting funds, to, I'm not against helping people, but it does impact what we can do later or additionally, so.
Yeah, and I think what we discussed as the offset to the cost is that we invested in radio technology.
Right.
Doing more monitoring.
Right.
So we're hoping to avoid these situations altogether.
Right.
But they will happen.
Yep.
Things do happen. So I think you would look at, it would take a little bit of work if you really want to look back.
No, I'm not guessing, it's just let's visit in 6 months to a year and then see what the impact is.
I'll say, I get involved in these, you know, because they escalate and it's a big number. You know, a couple times a year, probably Noah's probably hearing about it once a month.
Yeah.
So from somebody, they happen, and, you know, at least, and Mark and I have had that, I mean, we live in the older part of the city and there's older infrastructure and stuff breaks and it hurts, but that really hurts, that's a business out there that, you know, and they're one-offs, you know, and then they fix it, so.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My opinion is, this is a non-factor. It's not contributing to a sewer system at all, zero. It's a leak, it's not going down a drain. There's no impact, we're not treating any water. We flush hydrants at a regular basis that pumps a lot of water for hours and hours and hours a month. It's a non-factor, we're not losing any money, like,
Oh.
And I was just gonna mention that we have no water loss with breaks on our side, right? We have
100%,
drains, we have accidents with hydrants, so we can't. There's a methodology like how many hours we think it ran for, but we don't capture it at all.
Mine is only coming out of like gifting of public funds type situation.
Yeah.
Have we looked at that we're at least capturing base costs? But
Yeah,
and we're not back, I just thought I'd bring it up.
And we're still making them contribute.
I'm still on board.
They're getting their normal water, and then they're paying for their normal water, and then they're paying for some of this problem, 25% of the problem.
And it's one time, right? It encourages people to fix the problem because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have reoccurring customers, right? That have the same problem month after month.
We do have recurring.
Yeah.
We do reach out to them monthly and say, hey, we see a continuous water flow, you might have a leak, can I look into it? And they say, thank you.
You only, it's a,
Pay it?
you don't get, that's where.
Yeah, they say you're wrong. I don't know.
Go ahead,
Is
Scott.
that characterized by residential?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, we can only incentivize, encourage, support. So again, the suggestions to go to 75%, again, if council supported.
Go ahead.
Based on what you just said, we can only, you know, encourage, but at some point, water is a resource. And, you know, at some point, maybe there has to be some penalties, because you're just wasting water, which is.
But they're paying for it.
I
They're paying for it.
I hear where you're
But
going.
it's still.
They're still waiting.
And it's expensive, senior.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
Yes, water.
All right, is everybody comfortable with this? I'm not, anybody screaming no, so. Okay, Noah, on to the Noah show and the
Okay, so
budget amendment.
everybody's got a packet. Okay. Now everyone's got a packet. So in your package, you have a couple different documents. I'm gonna mostly focus on the summary proposal for tonight. But behind it, you'll see an income statement, which shows the impact to revenues and expenses per fund, and as well as any fund balance. And then behind the income statement, we have more detail on the exact transactions per fund and the impact. So just trying to tie all the documents together. A lot of these transactions are accounting in nature, meaning there's a transfer from one fund to another. So it's an expense to one fund and a revenue to another. So I'm gonna try not to talk about those too much. It's in the documents. Instead, I'm spending time focusing on the overall kind of summary of what these amendments are doing. So I'm just gonna walk down this list here. So the first bullet is I'm requesting some additional funding for our capital construction fund, Fund 302. We use this fund for our general capital projects like City Hall, Woodlands Park, anytime we do capital construction projects. In the past, City Council has set money aside into the capital construction fund for cash flow reasons to ensure that we can have cash on hand for projects and to have funding for future capital projects. So looking at where we're at for funds, it seems like a good time to add some more dollars to the fund balance to provide for capital needs. The next bullet, I'm gonna ask Director Ryan to talk a little bit about. I've called it WASDOT SR16 Water Main Project, and that.
So this is, we've talked about it the last few council meetings. This is it's our emergency intertie that connects us to Bremerton. that feeds our lower zone here, the Van Z Park Reservoir. As you've heard before, we're having issues with well 7, production is low. This is our backup contingency, so they are planning to do this work in the next 2 weeks. I think is going to break ground. It's going to be down for 10 days. It is in a WashDOT right away, just like when we have PSE in the city right away or communication lines, we require them to move their line at their cost for our projects. It's the same with us in the state. We've been talking about this for over a year with WashDOT. They didn't think there was going to be a conflict as they got a few months down the road ago. They said there was no way around it with the bypass that they had to do. This is what's keeping the road open, basically, when they do that culvert replacement. So there's going to be some rolling slowdowns, but they're not having to close anyways on SR6.
So currently we have an estimated cost of $700,000. So this is an unexpected expense that we don't have a choice to pay for. So it's a new project. Unfortunately, it would hit our water operating fund. So the funding source I'm proposing for this is to come from the general fund. Well 7, pump and design. Dennis, do you want to talk about this one as well?
Yeah, I just mentioned, so well 7 is just right here off the boulevard. That is an artesian well. We are down on the amount of water that it's producing. We've got some impacts with our emergency intertie. The Washington State is already under a drought condition for this year. The entire state is. So we are working on getting our contingency, which is putting a pump back in this well, which it originally had a pump when it was first rehabbed in the 1960s. It's older than that. I'm not sure the reasons why the pumps were removed, but it was a free-flowing artesian that produced very well. So this budget goes to make sure that we have production throughout the summer.
Again, this also impacts our water operating fund, so I'm also proposing this. So it's important to know that another fund cannot benefit another fund, except for the general fund. General fund is the only fund that can subsidize other funds. The water fund cannot subsidize the general fund, but the general fund can subsidize the water fund. So these amendments do reflect that requirement and commitment of the general fund to support our water.
The general fund could support anything, basically, what you're saying, anything.
Yep. The next project is actually in our water CIP, number 2C. It's a PRV system from the 390 zone to the 260 zone.
Hit it again. So we talked about well 7. You're aware of the issues that we're having there. So well 7 and well 6 feed the Van Z reservoir. Those are the only 2 wells that feed that entire reservoir. Well 9 is next to the Van Z reservoir, but it is in a different pressure zone. So we're working on our contingency. We're doing this one PRV. There's 3 or 4 planned, but we're going to focus on one. That PRV will give us the ability to feed the Van Z reservoir from well 9 as well if the need comes.
So this is in our capital plan, and it does have an allocation between operating and capital facility charges. So it's a 25% and 75%. It's at 75% of the cost for this project can be paid for from CFCs, while the other 25% will be paid for from the water operating. And as I've said in the last 2 projects, I'm planning on using the general fund to cover that 25% to avoid hitting the water operating fund. Okay.
You may have mentioned this already, but this is nothing to do right now with the water pressure issue that we're seeing in downtown, correct? Okay, I think there's nothing, this is not separate.
Not aware of the water pressure problem.
The,
No, that's the aquifer drop down.
yeah, right.
So that's the root cause that we aren't getting enough water out of that well. So we're gonna install a pump is one of the projects.
So
The other, and then as a redundancy measure, we've got a reservoir advancing and a well next to it.
Right.
That well can't put water into there because of the difference in pressure
Right.
between the 2 zones. So we're gonna put what's called a pressure reducing valve in that'll allow us to put that water that's right there in the reservoir.
Yeah, I was just, it ties it together with the fact
Yeah.
that this is addressing some of the issues that we're having.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Giving us
I was
redundancy.
just trying to make correlation. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next item is, this is a cleanup measure, really. We've already approved contracts for RFN to do amendments 15 through 20. So this is for the community event center. So this is just $321,000 cleanup that the council's already approved. These funds will be paid out of the park impact fee fund. The next project, Tip Anderson Hill, we do have some funding in there, but it was enough to cover all the design, so it's just a little bit more. And this funding actually is a dedicated funding source in our impact fee fund from a Bayside developer agreement. $70,000 will come from the impact fee fund to our 304 street capital construction fund for that project. Now, the next bullet is I'm proposing to reallocate our current bond proceeds from our LTGO 2023. So when we sold that bond, we sold those bonds to cover the cost of City Hall remodel. Once we were done with City Hall remodel, we still had bond proceeds left over because we did a good job and earned interest and all the good things. So we applied some of that money towards our Gibbons Park project. Once that was complete, we still had some leftover bond proceeds, which I am now proposing to reallocate those to our water capital projects. In particular, Melcher, the water intertie, and water CIP number 2C. Melcher does have a funding shortfall, which would require the water operating fund to cover. I'm anticipating a water shortfall in the water intertie project, and we don't know yet what the 2C project is going to cost. So I'm trying to give myself the greatest flexibility to complete these projects that we have on the list with the bond proceeds we have in hand, cash in hand.
What is the shortfall?
Of Melcher, I believe it's about 180,000 right now.
Was it because like equipment has gotten more expensive or?
What's the question?
The Melcher project, why do we have a funding shortfall? I think it was PSC with another 50,000. And then maybe some design costs were a little bit higher. I could revisit that.
No,
Thursday back.
Yeah, we had estimates for the PSC had to bring in a new power, and we've got a new on-site generator, and those changes cost more than we anticipated what PSC actually charged us.
The next budget proposal is, I'm just trying to recognize some revenue in the water operating fund. Revenues did come in better than expected, so I'm trying to bring a little more cash to our water operating fund since we're tapping into the general fund for all these other purposes and trying to get some water fund contributing. The next amendment is for storm drainage for Project 69 Annapolis Creek Culvert. Des, would you like to talk about that one?
So this is the match contribution to finalize the 100% design for a bid-ready package for the Annapolis culvert. That culvert is probably close to over 100 years old. It is made out of wood, so when you drive towards Whiskey Gulch and Annapolis Ferry Terminal, you're actually driving over a wooden bridge under the road. So, and then also our pressure main that feeds the entire city sewer line to the treatment plant goes right through the middle of it. So this is critical infrastructure. And again, it was a RCO grant match which is the Recreation and Conservation Office to the state.
The next bullet here is Shreve Water Main. We completed this project in 2025. And just due to the project closeouts, we've made an expense in this fiscal year. So I'm just bringing that into, but actually I have budget to make that expense. We're releasing retainage, which is funded, but they were owed. We just had to go through the process of submitting all our documentation to the state and close out their project. So you'll see that from time to time. I'll bring in kind of retainage release. And if we weren't planning on doing the project this year, we get done, but there's still trickle paperwork. So the next 4 bullets, I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. We began the year with a public works shop at 1535 Lloyd Parkway, and all our public works operate out of that facility. That facility was purchased from the Water and Sewer Fund. In I think March, was it March that we bought this building? March, we identified a new opportunity to buy 1333 Lloyd Parkway, and we went forward and purchased that building. At the time, I wrote the amendment to simply just capture the purchase because I didn't know who was going to go in that building at the time. Now we've got the building fully remodeled out and employed. Now I know who's in each of the buildings, and who's in the building matters because who's in the building is who has to pay for the building. And so now we have an allocation of water. Pretty much our utilities are out of Lloyd, and so they will pay for that purchase as well as the ongoing operation of that facility. And our 1535 is primarily general fund activities, and they will pay for those operation and activities. So part of the amendment is just to clean up the original budget amendment to get everything in the proper budgeted funds and to have the proper funds pay for it. We also discovered in this process that 1535 while it was housing general fund, the general fund was not paying rent to the enterprises of water and sewer. So as part of this process, we are correcting that and going to provide back the rental payments to the water and sewer fund from the general fund activities. And we're also trying to make it cleaner and clearer that going forward, the general fund owns the first building, 50-55, and the utilities own the other building. So with an internal purchase, if you will, the general fund is buying 1535 from the water and sewer utility. So
One correction, Noah, we bought that building actually in December, in late December. And then we spent the first few months of the year, we started moving in there in March, but we did some remodeling of things, but I just didn't want that incorrect. It was in December we bought it.
okay. So this again, it's going to capture kind of all those different pieces where what we're going to end up with is a building that's owned by the general fund and supports the general fund and paid for from those activities. And the other buildings to be owned and supported by the utilities. There's going to be some cash going from the general fund purchase to those utilities to pay for that capital cost as well as the rental payments that they are owed. And then there will be debt service going forward on the purchased. And so that is also factored into the debt service tables. Yeah. And then last, you'll see we're updating the salary table. Councilmember Fenton was asking me about this. So we're capturing that the union negotiations are completed, but they were completed after our last budget amendment, our mid-year review. So we're updating the table to reflect the new contractual amounts for the salaries. We are adding, the council last week approved the compliance program manager. So we're adding that to the table, as well as realigning parking enforcement to move from the DCD to Public Works and will report to the compliance program manager. So those are the adjustments you'll see in red in the salary table.
Is that the one, the personnel position listing?
And there should be a red line with that. Okay.
Oh, no, here, down a little farther.
So just being the one trick pony that I am, when I was on finance committee for our reserves, they remain healthy as always.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And a positive outcome of all these building movements is that the water department does have a little bit of cash from the sale of that asset. So that is a positive for the water fund. Although we want to kind of reserve that going into next biennial budget when we can.
Did you share that change with our auditors? It was coming? Okay.
Yeah.
Did that change their yellow status of our water?
No, and
That
no.
hadn't happened yet.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, and for the rest of council, we this is a side note, we met with SAO, we completed our audit. We had a fantastic audit again, all clean report and best they've ever seen. So we feel really good about that.
Not to toot his own horn, there are 31 sections of an audit that are green in the entire state. 14 of those are from the city of Port Orchard. So we have half of the cities in the entire state's green to goodness. Good work to you and your team.
Not everybody's as healthy as we are. We still have challenges, but they pale in comparison to others. So Noah intends to bring this body of work to next week's meeting with an ordinance to as a mid-year or a budget amendment. So, Mr. Ryan.
Councilman Roscoe says the city doesn't toot its own horn enough, but I went to a director's roundtable last week and the topic was operation centers needs for the future. And they're talking numbers like city of Poulsbo, a lot of people similar to our size, a little bit bigger, Tukwila. They're throwing numbers out that they're planning for $20 to $60 to $80 million, what we just did for a few million. So thank you again.
Those are comparables.
That's what to get the land and
It's like a bill for a spot.
Yeah, I mean, for the size, I mean, we were lucky we got something right next to where we're currently at. We're centrally located, and probably 20 to 30 years in capacity to be there. So thank you again.
Yeah, it was a huge win. Yeah, it was. We were looking at 5 million-ish to build the storage shed because we needed to bring do stormwater improvements and utilities and all the things to a piece of land, and we got that. Now we just need to build a $300,000 building on the land we have. So,
But I was gonna just say that, reiterate that, but it's also a much better piece of land
Yeah.
than the other one across the
Yeah.
road.
building on top of a dump, yeah.
Our dump.
Our dump. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, and if nobody minds, Noah lives in Olympia and I think he'd like to get on the road.
Drive safe.
Yeah. So, because the rest of the meeting is the Nick Bond show. So thank you, Noah.
Thanks, Noah.
Nick, do you want to talk about the final plat process?
Yes, and I'm gonna share my screen. I have a presentation this evening. Bear with me for just a minute.
Base proposals.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought we uploaded that, you can do it.
well, no, not until we pass.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's what this is about.
So, good evening. Tonight,
Point of order, folks.
so, I wanted to walk the city council through a proposed amendment to our final plat processing code. And, because final plats are new to some of you, I wanted to make sure that everybody really understood the platting process from start to finish. Also, plats and subdivisions are synonymous terms under state law. So, we're gonna give you an overview of the process. We're gonna talk about, what, we're proposing to update and how those.
Look at you're gonna need to pick better colors in the future.
Oh,
Jim picked these, but
Oh, sure, Jim's not here. So you're gonna need to read that.
hang on,
We
hang
can't
on,
see
hang
it.
on. Is there a,
Yeah.
You change the
okay.
template.
design? Can I get a different color here?
That was just all green.
There you are. Just leave it that way.
But it, okay, there we go.
Looks better on the screen.
Uh-oh.
To be fair.
It does. It does.
All right, so we're gonna talk about why we're updating the final plat procedures and how they're going to improve our efficiency while complying with state law. And so when somebody wants to subdivide land to create lots, they're gonna first meet with the city. They have to establish their zoning, determine minimum lot sizes, dimensional standards, look at critical areas, and generally evaluate feasibility before preparing what's called a preliminary plat. And so that's really the first step in the process for a developer. Our code has 5 permit processes. Preliminary plats are a type 3 process, which means the hearing examiner makes the decision after a public hearing, and there's a judicial appeal. A type 4 decision, which is a final plat, as it's currently set up, is a city council decision, but a judicial appeal. And so there are also type 1 and type 2 permits, which have different processes and appeals. So when somebody, and I bet the text on this slide is white. So when somebody wants to submit a subdivision, they will prepare a preliminary plat. And that is it's more than conceptual, but it's not quite final engineering drawings of what the subdivision is going to look like. And that goes to the hearing examiner for a public hearing. We do public notices so that the public can provide input on this. And then the hearing examiner is going to issue a decision, usually with conditions of approval, that outline the parameters for how the plat has to be designed and constructed. And so the public notice that would be issued, we do a notice of application. So as soon as the application comes in, that goes out at a very early step in the process. That's mailed to people within 300 feet. It's published in the newspaper, and then a big sign is posted on the site. Most subdivisions also have a SEPA determination. That's the State Environmental Policy Act. And we mail notice of that to everyone within 300 feet. We publish it in the paper, and again, it's posted on the site. So that's a second round of public notification. And then finally, once the notice of hearing goes out, once the public hearing is scheduled, that one is mailed and published in the newspaper, as well as sent to anybody who commented in prior rounds of public outreach. So the hearing examiner reviews the preliminary plat. They conduct what's called an open record public hearing. The staff will present a full accounting of the record, technical reports, and any public comments that have been received, as well as a staff recommendation. There's an opportunity then for the public to testify on the project. And then within 2 weeks, the hearing examiner issues a decision to approve or deny the preliminary plat with conditions of approval. And that decision guides the engineering design of the land disturbing activity permit. There's also an opportunity for the public to appeal that decision. And so most of the decision-making process has occurred at this point in time. And of course, my text is whited out on this slide as well because I changed my presentation format. But the next step then is for the applicant to submit detailed engineering plans. So they take the conceptual plan from the preliminary plat, they do a final design on water, sewers, stormwater, and submit complete engineering to the city for approval. This is a type 2 permit, so we do it again, notify the public that engineering has been received, and that's a chance for the public to actually say, does the engineering match the preliminary plat decision? So it's another opportunity for them to make sure that nothing is being done that wasn't in accordance with the initial decision. There's an appeal process. If they want to appeal the land disturbing activity permit, they can do so. And then once this permit is approved, the developer can go forward with construction. They'll construct the roads, utilities, stormwater facilities, the open space improvements. And then the city is inspecting all of this work pretty continuously as it's built. And then at the end of this process, some minor items may end up being bonded. Usually streetlights take a while because those are installed by PSE. And PSE has long lead time sometimes on getting lights posted. Sometimes it's also that the plat is finished and it's the winter, and so it's not a good time to put landscaping in, and they'll post a bond for their landscaping items. So under our current process then, after the subdivision has been constructed, the applicant is currently required to apply to the city for final plat. They have to show that all preliminary plat conditions are satisfied, that all land disturbing activity permit conditions have been satisfied. And this is processed as a type 4 permit. So that is again, we do a public notice. There's supposed to be a public hearing, and then we provide a recommendation to the city council, and the city council approves it. But the challenge here is that at this point, the city council is seeing this plat for the first time, but most of the work has already been done by the hearing examiner. So they're only verifying, was it built in accordance with the original conditions or not? And so what we are proposing, or what the issues are, is that we're really duplicating work at that stage for things that were already addressed in the preliminary plat. We're adding time and uncertainty for applicants. If the city council said, hey, we have questions, or something isn't clear, we want to go see this for ourselves, they could delay the final plat approval. Frequently our applicants are rushing because they know there's a Thursday cutoff for council packets, and so they have to have everything submitted and in order for a council packet deadline. And so they're rushing, they're trying to get us to come out for inspections at the last minute, trying to meet the city council schedule. And sometimes, like around Christmas or in August, we go for 4 weeks without having a meeting because a meeting is canceled, or we have our summer break. So that is very expensive for builders because they've usually borrowed money and are paying interest on those improvements that they've built, and are not able to then sell those lots. So under state law, final plat review is really a ministerial process. It's did they do what they were supposed to do, or did they not? And then state law does allow for this to be delegated either to staff or the planning commission, and public hearings are not required in state law for a final plat. So again, this is, I really need to go back and change my slides back to the green so that I can see what this one says.
It's recreation.
Oh. Yeah, and this one somehow is still whited out. So anyway, after the final plat is approved by the city council, the plat can be recorded. That's what allows the land developer to either sell lots to builders, and also allows for people to apply for building permits so that they can begin constructing homes on those finished lots. So the proposed amendments to these sections of code basically take that final plat step from the city council and makes an administrative process. So it goes from a type 4 permit to a type 2 permit. It does still require that if somebody is proposing bonding of something that's critical to life safety, that the bond would still have to be approved by the city council. So I was very clear with my staff that I'm perfectly comfortable signing a final plat decision when it's a question of did they build what they were supposed to or did they not. But where a bond is proposed, I'm uncomfortable accepting bonds and committing the city to having to finish work in the event that the builder would fail to do so. And so other than for minor landscaping or maybe street lighting, if it's a life safety issue, like it's a water system improvement or it's having pavement that provides fire truck access, those types of things I would want the city council to weigh in on rather than staff. Yeah.
Scott first.
So I didn't know we allowed bond for life safety issues. I thought that was a no-go to begin with because they're life safety issues.
State law provides that you can bond those things, and so we've always had it in our code along with state law. Our position as of late has been really to discourage builders from using bonds and to even go so far as to say that we're not going to recommend that the city council accept a final plat with what you're proposing to bond because
Yeah.
we it's uncomfortable and we have so many bonds on the books that if the whole economy went south and we were on the hook with these half-finished projects, we don't have the manpower to actually pursue the bond companies and actually have this work completed.
Well, and then you're left with a risk on the ground.
Exactly. So I think it's important that the city council still has the ability to say no to those big items, but if it's landscaping or if it's street lighting, that's a less complex issue.
If we feel strongly about this enough, then maybe we should change our code. And bond for life safety.
State law says.
Yeah, we've been advised that we shouldn't change that to be inconsistent with state law. And, but we've had those discussions before with the city attorney and there are reasons, but they're not here to speak to those.
Just so I'm clear, state law allows you to do that or requires you to do that?
I believe it gives the developer the right to do that. But,
Then you guys can deny it
Right.
based on our recommendation.
Right.
But
yeah, it gives them the right to do it, but then there's language that talks about health, safety, life safety,
Right.
welfare type things. So we have the ability to deny it, but you at least have to offer it to them in the first place and then say no.
All right.
Jay, did you have a question?
No, I just had a comment that this had come before land use before about final plating. We had agreed we can take this out. And I think that the real impact for us as a council, my opinion, is the initial zoning, of what's going in there for housing development. Then it goes to the process that Nick listed.
And that's not what we're.
No. So I'm saying, but that's where council really has the impetus to decide on what's going in there, and once it does, it just follows the process that he went through. So like, as he said, by the time it gets to us for final plat approval, it's really, not rubber stamping, I hate to use that word, but it's those are the things that it's holding up the builder. And it's a good thing to do.
I think Eric was first.
The only thing we're bonding, they're bonding, is utilities, sidewalks.
Well, it's street lights usually. We're not gonna,
Plus PSCs that they're doing.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that the city's holding a bond on is utilities, sidewalks, the street obviously paving, but I mean.
Sometimes it's a second lift of asphalt.
Right.
We had a bond once for a water booster pump that was needed to.
Correct.
Some of the lots were buildable at the current pressure and other lots need the booster pump to be able to be served. So there's all kinds of other things.
So that brought up another question. Are we bonding for sidewalks?
Oh, for sure.
The code allows it, but our position has been that we don't recommend approval of those bonds.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, you think it is?
Well, the county treats it as a life safety issue. So, yeah, because otherwise you
Walk on the street.
But I just want to point out that really, when you're at this point, and I'm gonna try and just make it as simple as possible. You had a land development activity permit, and all you're doing is checking the boxes between the final and what was approved with the land development activity permit. And they're often, typically there's no difference. It's a perfunctory review that doesn't need to.
So where this is at right now is the planning commission is going to be holding a public hearing on this issue at their May meeting. And so this is potentially coming back to you the week after that, which is before our next work study. So we just wanted to bring it tonight, go over it one last time and make sure that you didn't have any questions before this would potentially come back to the full council.
and this really does impact our developers at times because, in August, you guys take a summer break and construction's happening and all of a sudden we've got to get it to a council meeting and then you know, it can get awkward with developers. When it's just really, I've never seen one of these not get approved. Mark?
Can we assume that development communities weighed in on this?
Oh, they're all for it.
Yeah, I assume so.
Speed up the process, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like Nick pointed out, this is at the point where they're holding the lights. They're all in on this, and now, even though we may not see it for the council, they still have to go to the county. Want tax dollars. So there's still another, I don't know how long it's taken these days, it used to be up to a month.
Yeah.
So there's still a bit of a wait even after this.
Yeah, and a lot of times the developers have already sold these lots and they have contractual deadlines that if they don't deliver the lots by a certain date, that builder then can back out of the deal. So they have huge financial pressure to get these things recorded.
And you have a hammer because you're not signing off until, you're not building a home.
Yeah.
You sign off.
On everything.
Legally, you can't sell until it's sold off.
Yeah.
Jay, do you have something?
No, I was just gonna say this is certainly more in-depth information than just a change, and I appreciate that. From soup to nuts, literally on this one, but strongly in favor of this going forward.
Any concerns out there? Right. You'll see it sometime next month. All right, last item, building repace grant program. Nick talked about this at finance committee too.
Yeah, so the finance committee got a look at this earlier tonight, but after we discussed the city of Auburn has a grant program for its downtown, and when we discussed that with the council a few months back, the direction was to bring forward a proposal that could be reviewed. And so we've put together an outline of what this program can look like. It's largely based on the program that Auburn has adopted. If the city council is ready to move forward with this, we will put this outline into an ordinance form and bring it forward for adoption here as soon as possible.
Next week?
Yeah. I think that is possible.
That's soon.
So the grant outline that we've prepared, it includes a purpose and a program details, and is broken into a variety of sections. And the first one is eligibility criteria.
Share your screen? Or not?
Oh, yeah, I was going to share my screen. Hopefully the color is okay this time.
It's fine on what we got. So nice.
So the outline includes eligibility criteria, and so this is for buildings that are commercial or mixed use, and the ground floor it can't be residential. So it's for refacing projects. It's got to be located on Bay Street downtown. There can't be any existing legal restrictions on the property. The facades must be visible from Bay Street, and it has to begin within a certain timeline. There's also limits on the size of the business in terms of how many full-time employees they have. So we're trying to keep this to small businesses. It can't be used for new buildings constructed after the adoption of the program, and it wouldn't be available for government agencies. And then we've identified the types of improvements that would be eligible. And so it's a lot of exterior improvements, brick and stone masonry, architectural metals, doors and windows, exterior carpentry, storefronts, painting, awnings, exterior lighting, ADA access, murals. And then we have standards for the materials because we want these things to be durable and appropriate for the marine climate that we're in. And I want to point out that we reference in the grant program back to the city's adopted design standards, which we do have architectural design standards for our downtown. And there we go. So in Port Orchard Municipal Code, section 20.127450, we outline building materials, and it does specifically mention durable, high quality materials. There's specifications for CMU blocks, materials that may be used, may not be used, and like metal material can only be used as an accent. So we have quite a few standards for exterior materials of buildings. And those are sort of mirrored here in this program. We're really looking for fiber cement siding, like hardy board siding, stone veneer, exterior paint, and shutters that would be vinyl composite or PVC rather than wood, something that's not going to last a long time. And then we also list a number of things that would be ineligible, and so it's not available for new construction or additions. We don't do proprietary signage or billboards. You can't do interior work. And so roof repairs, things that aren't visible improvements are not eligible for the program. We go on then to break this into 3 scales of projects. There's a small project, a mid-scale project, and a large-scale project, and each one of those has a dollar amount limit for the grant as well as a match. The Finance Committee did recommend, so the small-scale project is up to $5,000 with 0 match. The mid-scale project is $5,001 to $25,000 and has a 30% match. And then the large-scale project is anything over $25,000 would be considered large scale. And as written, it says 75% match, but I believe the Finance Committee is recommending that that be lowered to a 50% match for anything over $25,000. As far as the form of the match can be funds directly spent by the applicant. It can be in-kind contributions like labor. It can be loan proceeds if they were to take a loan. And then there are application processes that are documented here in terms of what needs to be submitted. Then there's it requires that there be a grant agreement between the city and the applicant, and so that would come to council. That's where the city council gets to weigh in on the approval.
So, yeah, I was looking at this earlier and I noticed that it says, you know, that the application, that would come, I think this application is reviewed by committee. I was wondering what committee.
I don't think it'll be a committee, it'll probably be a council meeting.
Yeah, we could form a committee, but because we're proposing to do this as a first in line, so the first applicant has first crack at the money, and if the money's gone, you have to wait until next year to apply. So we're not proposing to have scoring criteria where we're going to say this project is better than that project. It's purely going to be, is this eligible and is it first in line and is there enough funding?
So you're screening for grants.
Correct. We're just verifying that the proposal meets the design standards, it meets the grant criteria, and if it does both of those things, then it can be put into an agreement. Yes.
Jake had his hand up first.
So I understand that in LS Finance Committee, you know, the 75% to the 50, which I agree with, but why not 50% of the 25 up to 25 instead of 30%? In other words, it'd be 50-50, you know, regardless.
This is what they discussed, the Finance Committee was 3 tiers, $5,000 or less grants. No match, up to 25,000, 30% match. And then anything over 25,000 is a 50% match.
Okay, no, just.
Sure.
Decision to move away from Auburn's language about building that is primarily residential.
Don't have any.
I think, yeah, for one, we don't, in the 2 blocks that we're talking about, we don't have anything with residential on the ground floor, but if.
No, here it says, building that is primarily residential. We moved away from that language.
It's being prohibited or allowed?
As for eligibility, so cannot be a business with more than 25 full-time employees. Building that is primarily residential, building in excess of 25,000, government office. So we used all that language, but I noticed that we changed that language. Is there a reason that was, we wrote that differently?
I'm not sure. Our city attorney drafted the outline. I would have to check with her to see if there was a specific reason for the change or if it. Yeah, but I think it's moot because we don't have any ground floor residential in our 2 block downtown.
Well, actually, so it says you cannot have a ground floor residential, which I thought was weird because we don't have any ground floor residential. And we moved away from Auburn's language, which says primary building that is primarily residential. So that's why I was like, it was kind of weird,
Right.
But I'll ask her.
I think because we have some mixed use buildings downtown that do have residential upstairs, it is possible. I'm not positive on how much square feet is on a first floor versus a second floor, but it's possible there's a building there that has more residential space than non-residential. So that would make it ineligible. And I think our goal is to have everything on Bay Street eligible. And there are no buildings in that segment that have ground floor residential.
Yeah, so why even put that language?
It's probably not needed, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even needed.
What is the unity or the theme that we are going to have down there? Are we gonna have like certain colors or, you know, when we have the.
That's what our design standards.
That's all in the packet. We went through all.
Oh,
That was what Nick talked to earlier. We have our design standards. They have some they have to comply with our design standards, hardy material.
Like an example, if we.
Yeah, we don't have a theme, but we do have design standards. And so the design standards in our code set minimum standards for the quality of aesthetics.
Yeah.
But we don't have we're not doing a Norwegian theme or any other theme for Port Orchard. That was debated and decided years ago.
Nation specific, but very.
Yeah, mayor's, right, I didn't know we had colored.
There's in the back.
It will take that, okay, good.
Eric?
Yeah, colleagues, when they state visible from Bay Street, there's obviously like at Sydney and where Josephine's is at Franklin.
Frederick.
Sorry. There's certain roads, right, where those businesses, you will see two sides. Right, so those are eligible for two sides. I really wanna push hard. Let's talk about Javon about like, with like a concrete hardy plank type of boards. They do make a cedar shake, hardy plank needs a cedar shake look. We can't tell them what they have to have. Right, but when we reimburse receipts, it has to meet the criteria as those receipts do. Right, I don't wanna come back, I'm seeing as one of 7, but come back in 15 years with downtown, the boards are falling off and, all the effort that we put forth in doing this, and they weren't really maintained. So I think just the most durable products, the better. And the color palette, we can't tell someone color painted, but we did put in there, but port community colors, right? I mean, there's things like that we could highly encourage, and I think
It's in our standards.
yeah, I think the property owners, I mean, maybe I'm just really shooting for the moon, but I really think that they're gonna be in good communication and talk and do things like that. I mean, I know, example, one business owner owns 2 businesses down there that he's all about it, and I don't think he's gonna go pay colors. He might be asking somebody on Bay Street what they think would be the best way to do it, someone with some taste, right? I'm feeling pretty good. There's some AI concepts, but I think he's feeling pretty good. So yeah, sure.
So one of the things I noticed is that I can't remember if it was another work study that we were kind of this, probably another work study. Where it seemed that most of everybody had agreed that we weren't doing in-kind contributions, especially because there's no receipt attached to it. And yet it seems that language is back in that, even though I thought we had all agreed that we didn't.
I think that was mentioned, but it is in the Auburn program. And which we
We're
modified.
doing things different than what
So I think we decided that, yes, we did want to include the in-kind
So
and give them credit towards their. I'm trying to remember, because I've had so many conversations. I thought at a study session, we decided with Charlie to include the in-kind.
I could have sworn we all agreed that there was no receipts, that in kind didn't make sense because we wanted receipts, and so.
But you can get a receipt for
Right.
any.
Okay, point of order,
Thank
please,
you.
and one conversation at a time,
Yes,
please,
yes.
can we not speak over each other?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it was deliberated. Ultimately, it's your guys' decision. So Scott, I think you were next.
I was just gonna go back to the color palette that's mentioned in the documents we got. It mentions cream, ivory, and yellow is some of the colors, and I'll just observe that those are the colors that you notice endure the quickest, the fastest, and those buildings don't get color sprayed very often. So I'd like to we could leave that in the color palette, but I'd like to encourage people to think about that color, and if we point out something that says, this color will require more maintenance.
Not going on television right now. Can we discuss in-kind contribution? I think what we discussed was like the volunteer and that, maybe the in-kind. Yeah, so we're not giving credit, like we're not, I don't wanna say we're not. I was in the assumption that we talked about. We are reimbursing receipts. Receipts, they can have an amazing workforce come and help them and cut costs, but unfortunately, we're gonna get those costs cut as well. But I think to help Noah out this whole process, it's pretty tricky for him. I think we need to reimburse receipts.
Yeah, correct.
But what about a scenario, playing devil's advocate here, Lowe's donates $10,000 worth of hardy board. And that's part of their 25%. That they're contributing, would we be comfortable with? I'm just picking Lowe's, it could be
Right.
Evergreen Lumber, could be any building supply place. Wants to, or maybe they got $10,000 worth of hardy plank for $5,000. So do we want to recognize it at its value, or really what they paid for it? There's a question, not a statement, so I'll go with Jay first here.
I would say that the language then it would be like material, in-kind material at vendor's cost or whatever. I think what you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, is labor, and I would not want to reimburse labor as in
We're
kind.
not reimbursing, but giving credit.
No, giving credit, yes, that's what I'm sorry, giving credit for that, but in this case, I can see where you're talking about material, I think it would be worth doing.
I would say, because the receipt says 5,000 and not 10,000, I feel like that's what we're, that we are, giving back, not at 10,000, but on the 5,000 of the receipt.
Sweet, clarify here, we're never giving back, okay?
I mean-
They're responsible, let's take simple math here. We got $100,000 project, they're responsible for contributing 25,000 of it. And it's what we're recognizing for their 25, because we're not getting, we're not,
50,000, I think. I thought it was 50%.
You're correct. Just so you're correct, okay, so they're responsible for 50,000, okay? And what will we recognize for their contributions? We're not paying them for that. So, Mark, did you, no,
You can get, yes, I did have my hand, you can get an in-kind donation receipt from any legitimate business. That can be turned in, that we can use legally.
And I think if they're proposing an in-kind match in their application, we would write the terms of that into our grant agreement. So it's gonna spell out what is eligible and what documentation is required in the agreement.
But it doesn't sound like there's appetite for labor to be recognized in that, is what I kind of think I'm hearing, sure?
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing. They have $100,000, I guess this is the way I would think to use matching contributions. They have $100,000 project. They receive a kind contribution of 50,000 or whatever it is. Then they have to figure out how to come up with another 50,000. We match whatever it is that they contribute. So if they contribute 25,000, we match 25,000. That's my understanding.
I don't think it quite works that way. You wanna try to?
Yeah, so for me, right, so we're staying on the same, it's $100,000. And I can get my hardy plank, let's say all the materials I got donated. The only thing I have to pay for is labor. What should we care as a whole? Because that $100,000 project, our goal for this whole program is getting done either which way.
What does that mean, either which way?
There's $100,000 in improvements being made to that building.
Whether they used cash for their 50,000 or they went and got materials in that same dollar amount. Why do I care if there was cash involved? I just want to know that there's skin in the game.
But they don't have skin in the game, if people just keep giving them stuff. I don't get it. That's why we're looking at what
You
they're
got people
actually.
just trying to give you $50,000 worth of stuff right now. That's hard work.
I'm not saying it's not, you still got somebody to give you something, so I thought we were trying to reimburse them what they actually come out of pocket.
We're not reimbursing.
So
Use whatever word you want to
We're
say.
granting-
Whatever we're granting,
granting the
We're granting it
$50,000
based
to
on
the
the receipt.
$100,000 project.
so, okay.
So they're gonna have to get a receipt that
So
says.
they
it's
don't
worth
really
50,000.
actually have to have skin in the game, not really.
Well,
Okay, I
they're
hear
gonna
you.
have to pay somebody to install it. We're not gonna recognize labor as a donation. So they're going to have skin in the game. Eric?
Alright, so. Let's say somebody from this council. Was thinking this would be a really cool program. So they go to the biggest retail store in the area, number one retail store in the state, Lowe's. The number one Lowe's in the state. And said, hey, this is a program that the city's looking at doing. Would you be interested in partnering possibly with the city? No, Evergreen Lumber, others can do it as well. Let's use Lowe's. And Lowe's said, I would be interested in doing that. Oh, large scale project like that, nice. What would you be able to do? We will donate all materials at cost, so it's 40% off. For all the projects down there. They didn't go get those donations. So because we got 40% off, they should be receiving. You know what I'm saying? They should be receiving that 40% off of their total. Right? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they're not doing when Charlie's gonna when she will. When Charlie writes a letter to partner with local businesses, it is a City of Port Orchard program that she is writing a letter that they're gonna partner with. They're not partnering with a business downtown.
But they will, Barry.
No, I understand they will. But it's a program. And that letter that they're receiving from the City of Port Orchard. They're getting those in-kind donations of 40% off. Because of the program that we're doing. Why should they get credit for that 40%?
Because we want projects done, trying to get going, that's the goal of the project.
So just say it's market rate and whatever it is, and you get that 40% off. They should get.
No, they get 40% off. They don't
Hey,
get market rate for that.
I'm one vote,
Okay, so I think there's consensus that you're not getting credit, so I'm just trying to put a ball on this here. So that we're not gonna give credit for labor. And in Eric's scenario, he's wanting them to only get credit for their actual cost for the materials. And that's, I think, what I'm hearing Sharon and Heidi say too. Others are saying whatever that retail cost is provided, we can be provided documentation for that $40,000 worth of siding material, that they would get credit for the 40,000, even if they only paid 60% of it. Sure.
I'm gonna put on. Because what John's gonna say to me later on is, you were actually arguing of 20%.
Probably.
So I'm gonna pull back on that and say we're good. That's the reality of this.
Sir,
Are we talking about receipts?
yes, we are.
20%, 40%, 60%, 80%,
Let's talk about
receipts.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
It's still, well, it's a form of receipt. That receipt could have a discount to it, but we're gonna recognize the actual cost. Okay, all right, Jay?
Just backing off the receipts part for a second. My concern, and I know we've talked about it, I know several of you have ins with the various building owners. But, we're hitting businesses and the owners are also involved in this, the skin in the game. How is the outreach going to happen with the building owners? Because we have some building.
We've done it extensively. I mean.
Okay, no, I'm saying, okay,
Yeah, from letters to
Yeah.
personal contacts.
Yeah.
There's a couple of buildings in particular we're targeting.
yeah, okay, because I know.
We're having
I
conversations.
know that businesses are interested deeply in this.
Yeah, but they're not the building owner.
Exactly. Yes, okay. Thank you.
We're hoping for success.
Yes.
Okay, so the majority, what I'm hearing, the majority is
Receipts.
whatever they can provide for documentation is what we'll move forward with, okay? And are we comfortable, because we're trying to fast track this and get it before you guys next week, so are we comfortable with the other major trigger is 5,000 is first come, first serve, 5,000 is an outright grant. But $5,001 to 25,000 is a 30% match for $25,001 to whatever your project is, up to whatever our pool has, we'll get a 50% match.
Yeah, and you do have labor mentioned in the.
I think
That's gonna be pulled out.
it's gotta be modified, but we
In
heard
the
that.
finance committee's recommendation of the large grant going from 75 to 50%.
Yes, yes, that's what I just said.
I'm just gonna observe something that I don't think we can do anything about, but it would be nice if the downtown had some modulated storefronts. So that,
We're not remodeling the buildings, we're
I know.
refacing them.
I know,
Yeah.
but you know, that would take the game to another level.
Now we're talking much more than our pool has to offer. Okay. I hope to see this before you guys next week. And we're to go to the order. Anything for
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight? I'm sorry about that. We,
I think the,
go ahead.
Yes, do you have something?
no, go ahead, I interrupt.
Yes.
So you got an award for the lift station? City. Yeah, yeah. You, the city, so you gotta toot your own horn.
That'll be the director's report next week. Yep. All right. Are we, you have something?
Yeah, good to order. Yeah, and I brought this before, and then I also put it in an email. But what I'm talking about here is the business license code title 5.12, and that's it's like a tenant protection language. We don't have this in our code right now, and our building construction code title 2200. This responsibility goes to the owner versus the tenant, and I think you know, landlord's problem, and they can like get shut down. And if it's not life threatening, if it's not an emergency or hazardous, we should be able to put that the tenant can keep their business going. And because it is detrimental to a business that gets shut down for 3 weeks, and then they reopen and they lose their clientele. And I think we really need to look at that ordinance, and we can fix that. And I think it's super important that we as a city council come together and talk about it and see if this is something that we want to go forward and make that a little bit more business friendly. And that just, anyway, I think it's really important. And I hope that we as a city council can do that for our local businesses.
So where I'm gonna go with this is that the building official or the fire official are the ones that determine whether something is life safety or not. And I know of no situation where we have shut a business's door where that professional that we employ, we don't.
Well, I'll tell you an example. And this is in our code that I just set up. Title 20. So it doesn't just go to the fire
Give me an
marshal.
example.
We'll take the 50% store that and I even talked to Nick Bond about
Would
this.
you please give me an example?
I am the 50% store
fire-
that
the
the
fire-
fire door that closed
And-
down
and
for.
what I-
Let me finish, please. They got closed down for 3 weeks. And I want to finish my whole in a couple sentences. They got closed down for 3 weeks, and then they reopened, but they lost their clientele. I was asking Nick Bond about it, and they went through the landlord to get their attention. So they took that fire door, it wasn't the correct one. Then they put over a sheetrock. Now, when I look at that store, and I would say, okay, close off the back, close it down for like maybe a day or two to put sheetrock on there, and don't close the business for 3 weeks. And that is detrimental, and that's why I want to bring this up for us to help the small businesses. If it was a life threatening, the tenant was following all the rules that they can when they're renting from the space. So we have to look at that, and we have that authority to look at a code and make it more business friendly.
You already finished?
Yes.
Okay. I don't like the situation any more than you do, and it took 3 weeks for them to get the sheetrock installed, unfortunately. They were unfortunately caught in a situation between our fire official and the landlord. And it went on for, you guys were provided the documentation on this scenario. I don't like it any more than anybody else, but I'm not the fire official. That's an employee of the city who has those credentials that made that determination. The door was noticed during a C of O, certificate of occupancy inspection. It shouldn't have been there. They were giving a significant amount of time to make corrections, the landlord was. They were given a temporary certificate of occupancy. I can't remember the timelines. I don't know if Nick, if you remember how long those times were. They were given a second temporary and told this has got to get fixed. It didn't get fixed. It didn't get fixed. I don't like it either that it came to that conclusion where the fire official felt it was necessary to not issue a certificate of occupancy, reissue the certificate of occupancy.
Well, I did that. Oh, I'm just gonna say, an example, if it's not, you gotta put if it's immediate hazard, if it's life threatening, if it's going to hurt the community.
Council member?
No.
She said that it was.
Okay.
That
but you
was the
can allow-
determination.
Okay, what I'm saying is you can allow businesses to stay open while landlords fix problems with 30 to 60 days. That also can be language in municipal
I
code.
believe they were given nearly a year. So
I don't know, I like to see the records on that.
you have been provided it and we'll provide it again.
Let's have this, we have that fire marshal.
Yeah,
Fire
fire
code official.
fire code official.
We have her, his person, immediate here. Was that a public safety issue?
In that person opinion, yes.
What was that?
In the determination of the fire code official, yeah.
And you support that?
I don't have training in fire code in the way that I can make that determination, but my understanding is that we've established a maximum square footage for a fire separated area. And that because this penetration existed, it was larger than what can be. And my understanding of the reason that you have those fire partitions in a building is to keep fires from getting too big and spreading. And so I think that when you have spaces that are too big, if there is an incident, it can become a much more major incident compared to a building that has those partitions. So in the judgment of the fire code official, that was a risk that was worth shutting down operations. And I think the mayor's right. It was probably close to a year that they had to correct that deficiency, and it wasn't getting done. And so that's the next hammer that we have after giving temporary extensions and warnings, is to say, if you don't get this done, your certificate of occupancy is going to expire, and that's when we have to shut things down.
That's right.
Well, Nick just hit on it. I was curious, if I remember correctly, they were given multiple, I think they're 90-day extensions.
Yeah,
And it went on for multiple, if I remember correctly, but it might be something, I mean, how hard would it be to look back on those records?
It's in the report that Charlie's working on to give you the synopsis of all of the different scenarios.
Okay, that might be
Yeah.
helpful to you.
I just found out when they came up here and talked that, on February about how, so I didn't read no report about, that, and didn't they put in, I mean, I don't think that business was over a year. That was a new business in there, that 50% store. That was
My timelines could be off. There was multiple temporary certificates issued.
I'm just saying that business wasn't there a whole year, and I think they put up the sheetrock after the.
All of you guys have been provided the timelines on that and the actions on that. And I know Charlie's working on a compilation of all of those different issues and in a document to you.
Well, the
I just
point
was gonna
is,
say-
the point is,
I
I like
believe
to
Scott,
talk
I
money.
believe Scott's got the floor.
I was just gonna say that, you know, when the fire officials out there, they're looking at life safety issues, they're looking at road perspective. It doesn't really matter what people's feelings are about that.
I'm saying the landlord and the tenants, we're punishing the tenants. So we can do a language here in our code, not punishing the tenants. So they've closed for 3 weeks and then they don't get their clientele back. That's really what I'm looking at here. If it's not, if they get it fixed, you know, that's what I'm looking at, the tenants.
That's sort of more.
I think what you're missing is what everybody's trying to tell you is, even if we change that, that situation still would have happened because that building official said, this is a life safety thing and shut it down.
And I think, the flip side of this argument is that we had a new business come in that applied for a certificate of occupancy, and we actually, even though there was this fire separation issue, we got them open because we had a timeline for them to get into compliance, and then they didn't perform. So I would say that we actually went out of our way to allow them to get open, and then the landlord didn't follow through with what they were supposed to. And so we're almost being punished by being helpful on the front end and then not having the follow through. But again, it was the landlord who didn't follow through, not the business.
And I think I'm civil.
And that, exactly.
Well, and I like to still look at this, and there's a whole bunch of other things to look at. But I just don't want this to get repeated if it's not a life threatening and it can only be closed down for a small amount to get that.
Councilman, you're not listening. You're not listening.
But
We're You're not comprehending.
Yeah, so city council can't talk and see and change
What
any
I'm
code.
saying is, you keep saying that this isn't a life safety issue, and we're repeatedly telling you that it was determined to be that by our fire official.
I know, but why did that get closed down for 3 weeks?
And in reality, they probably shouldn't have been allowed to open at all until it was corrected. As Mr. Bond just pointed out, we tried to be nice, and then they turn around and bid us because the landlord didn't perform.
Okay, I wanna see all the documents, cause I don't remember reading this at all. I just heard it.
You
from
have,
him.
you have been provided the documents, and we'll provide
Okay,
them to you
we
again.
just resend them.
Yes. Anything else for the good of the order? See you next week.
So.
Sir.
The reason I asked that is, so we had a sign for private drives, and we had a sign for no answer. And for me,
Well, that seems really high.
it's actually.
Take it out.
But, yeah.